profits of between 8.5 and 9.5 billion there. We'll see if that happens as the economy shapes up here in Q4. Let's go ahead and do the market data and put all this together. We've looked at some government sectors, so now we'll go to the market data here. Let me just get this. The prices. These are on Friday, unless otherwise noted. The BBC Global 30 was up 12.73. The FTSE was down 30.42 on Friday. In Frankfurt, they were also down 59.51. In Paris, they were down 28.78. In Brussels, 6.40. In Madrid, 5.60. In Zurich, they were down 13.99. In Moscow, 7.47. In Johannesburg, they were down 294.82. In Bombay, 421.20. In Karachi, 49.71. In Lahore, 7.77. In Colombo, 23.90. And on Wednesday in Tehran, 23.70. In Sydney, on Friday, 29.40. The Nikkei at 152.68. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong was down 30.98. In Shanghai, they were also down 0.14. In New York, 127.51. The Nasdaq at 30.92. The Merc, that's a commodities market out in the Midwest city of Chicago, 13.76. And in San Pablo, 127.47. And in Mexico, they were down also 25.52. And quickly to the commodities, we watch these as closely as possible to see exactly where they are. Brent crude futures were down 85 cents at $87.19. The spot was down 12 cents at $85.73. Texas Intermediate crude futures were down 74 cents at $81.32. T-Boone picking is still jumping for joy there. He about $15 a barrel. Oil. Coffee futures were down $1.80. And sugar, anyway, it was up 22 cents. Gold. If we can find some gold here. This is a Forex gold index. $1,232.75. Depending on which of these index. We don't get to buy gold around here anymore. Anyway, it doesn't matter. CBO, this is corn futures. They were also down $6.75. Bushel there. And soybean oil down 28 cents. Wheat futures were down $9. We need to get these commodity prices down. Coffee futures were up $19. So a little look at the commodities. I noticed driving around that gasoline or petrol in the U.S. Went up. So we want to see those come down. Part of the reason that soft economies in the manufacturing sector, we need to bring these in line, and also keep inflation at a moderate situation. We won't get this price inflation, especially in the volatile things, food and petrol. We can keep those under control. Things will be better because it will take some time to get the slack out of this economy. There is slack there and persistent slack, but under the conditions in which we operate, it will take some time. And since economies are interdependent, there are various factors in many countries. The UK economy has been weak for the last since the Depression. And across France, they've been a basket case. Of course, Spain, Greece, etc. They have been functioning basically normal. They've been subpar for 10 or 20 years. So some of the so-called Eurozone, as they've been expanding, or they be these countries in the former Soviet Union or not, there was not much activity there. And also impacting on Germany is the embargoes, etc., against the Russian Federation, which can only be seen as economic violence, and that is affecting them somewhat. Although there has been some accommodation there in terms of energy by the Russian Federation and some of their European trading partners. But part of the problem is that there has to be some accommodation. This old world framework of these embargoes, they have one on Cuba, but Cuba is a very small economy and doesn't figure into the economy of the U.S., with the exception of some agricultural and some other things. But you've seen these economic embargoes used against Zimbabwe there, and they were able to survive it. Iran is a very good example. Since the 70s, they basically have become self-sustaining, although a disproportion of their economy is in fossil fuel selling. So you see some of those economies out there that have struggled. Now China is a different situation. It is a state-controlled economy. Pricing of housing and real estate had skyrocketed there. They need to bring that under control. What they have is an emerging middle class versus a millions and millions of people in the countryside. Also, some of the things that the Chinese party has been experimenting with, like their healthcare system, at one time it was centralized. They had to bear for doctors. They went to somewhat of a fee-to-pay model, and it has been disastrous. I was talking to a fellow that had been in China, and he had some problems, and he had to go to 2 or 3 different medical centers to find some antibiotics. So again, these are things that have to be taken care of. As China is moved into a modern economy, the healthcare system is very important. We saw that in the U.S. with the Ebola outbreak. The U.S. spends more money on healthcare than most nations, but the delivery system is not very good. And part of the problem there is private insurers are in the mix. Many hospitals are at an a la carte, in other words, fees for everything done and not overall a base fee. In other words, if you have a procedure done in a hospital, say the procedure will cost you $1,000, but what happens, medical centers, they're charging from everything from Tylenol up to bandaging you, seeing you, and there's a long itemized bill, and that is overseen by the insurance bosses. So that in itself is highly inefficient type of operation, plus medical records and the number of people even employed in these systems that, although they're using computers, but a lot of it is still almost like they were using pen and pencil. So we saw that in Dallas, and the subcontracting out of the ER and various other items that they have to deal with. And they even have various companies, their whole function is in the U.S. is to obstruct the patient. In other words, there's certain medications the patient pays cash up front, and the insurance companies reimburse, but if they can stall for a week or two, whatever, they will do it. I was talking to another lady who was on the phone for 4 hours. So these things affect the economy. So China has to look to their healthcare delivery systems, as the UK has finally modernized their job shop, that they're no longer using clipboards. So modernization is coming. It just takes a bit. Nonetheless, this is Numbers Man. Have a pleasant weekend for those in business. Make next week a productive one for the consumer. Keep your eyes on the ball. And incidentally, a note, more of a kind of a personal note, I've noticed at Amazon the pricing is not as competitive as it once was, and that is why they are stumbling. Plus, their business is starting to mature. They are going in different lines, but the lines themselves, a number of people already in those. As Microsoft is trying to go to the cloud, they're trying to sell their mobile devices that they bought from the Kia and their tablets, but they've never been very good at selling hardware. They're still dependent on some of their old business model, which is becoming archaic as they move along. So we're going to continue to see a downward turn of there over the next few years. Good day.